YouTubes, I once again the Great James, and welcome to another Fantasy Archetype Review Series episode thingamafucker. I aren't I great at intros. Anyway, this new Fantasy Archetype is one given to us by Sean Largess, of course, who else were you expecting? And it is the Eater of Archetype, based off of course, the card Eater of Millions. And if you don't know what that card is, look it up. So yeah, this is the Eater of Archetype, so if you have any of your own fan-made archetypes, leave them in the comment section below, and maybe I'll review them in the future. I have other future things I need to get to because I really need to stop procrastinating on this series because there's really no excuse for it, especially considering the fact that half the cards are already made for me. So, yeah, I don't really have an excuse for this. I'll try to make more episodes, though. Maybe, maybe instead of every month, I'll try to make it like every 2 weeks. I don't know. I'll still work it out in my head. But anyway, I'm distracting. Let's get to the Eater of Archetypes, starting with our good friend here, Eater of Greed. Totally not based on a pot of greed, swear to God, totally original. Like for real, Zio. Cannot be normal summon or set, must be special summon from your hand by banishing a card from your hand face down. Has to banish a card, of course, that's one. When this card is special summoned, draw 2 cards. This card gains 100 attack and defense for each of your face down vanished cards. Of course, that means banished. Cannot be attributed or used for a fusion, synchro, or Z summon. Each time this card is attacked, banish 1 card in your opponent's hand face down, then they draw 1 card. So let's go through these cards bit by bit. Of course, the whole cannot be normal summoner set is the specialty of the whole Eater of cards, along with the whole built-in protection against the whole tribute, synchro, Xyz, all that shit. And you might notice that they're missing a bit of a link thing. There's a reason for that. Sorry. You might notice that they're missing a bit of a link thing. There's a reason for that. So, okay, let's go through this card like in a bubble, like you're in your As for the whole, like, draw 2 card, let's actually go into the factors of this. This is if you have if your hand is completely empty and you draw this card, it's a brick. I just call a spade here. Considering this card cannot be summoned unless you have another card in your hand. So if this is your last Destiny draw, all that shit, you're fucked. That's a scoop right there. But if you draw this relatively early game, or hell, if you just have one other card in your hand, that's a brick anyway. So, who knows, maybe you draw another copy of this thing. You just gotta banish that other one in your hand, special summon this thing, and then draw 2, so you X0. So you break even, considering it's the card that you banished, the card itself is summoned, and then you draw 2, so you break even. That's how Yu-Gi-Oh! Works, folks. And every time this card is attacked, not when it attacks, every time it is attacked. So your opponent has to attack this. Which, considering the fact that if they, say, draw a brick and have a bad hand, odds are they're going to actually be more likely to be attacking it, considering they want to get rid of their bricks. I mean, granted, you're the one choosing which one they're banishing, because it just says banish 1 card from your opponent's hand. It doesn't say at random, which means technically you get to choose, although it doesn't specify who chooses, but I guess if it doesn't say your opponent chooses, that's how the ruling works. I don't know. Ruling is confusing with Yu-Gi-Oh! Sometimes. It's very stupid at times. Anyway, Eater of Greed here is a very break-even card. I'd say you run 2 of the dang thing. It's like a gem like Garnet. No, wait. I don't say you run 1 of those things. There are people who run 2, ironically, to get rid of the chance of bricking if you draw into it. Yes, they run more of a card to lessen their chance of bricking into the card. Yu-Gi-Oh! Logic at its finest. So yeah, Eater of Greed, good card, definite 2 of, as I have stated already. But now we gotta move on to the next card, and that is, open up, Eater of 1,000 Corpses. I think it was supposed to be corpses, but there was a thing. And that is from a corpse eater from a game called Wraith, apparently. I have no opinion on Wraith, because I have never heard of it. Level 1 Dark Attribute Fiend Effect Monster. Yeah, you're going to be hearing the whole Level 1 Fiend effect a lot. Not so much the Dark Attribute, though. Let's go through what it says. Can't be normal summoned or set. Must be special summoned from your hand by banishing 3 cards in your graveyard face down. That's any cards. Monster, spell, trap, doesn't matter. All 3 if you want. Cannot be attributed or used for a fusion, synchro, or Z summon. Unaffected by cards that activate from the GY. Not many cards that really affect you from the graveyard, but whatever. Most of the cards that are in the graveyard mostly affect your opponent, considering that you're using the card effects from your graveyard to help yourself, not really hurt your opponent as much. But whatever, maybe there's that stray card again. Gains 1 attack and defense for each of your opponent's face-down banished cards. Only your opponents, for the record, not you. When this card destroys a monster by battle, banish monsters in both players' graveyard with the same type as that monster, except the destroyed monster face down. So this card's very picky, considering, actually, as of nowadays, Yu-Gi-Oh, it's actually kind of rare to see the archetype with a bunch of cards in it. They're actually the same archetype. Like, you don't really see many warrior structure decks. You see cards with random mismatches just because they're using other decks as engines, like the Gem Knight engine, the Lightsworn engine, the Zombie engine, so many engines. This thing is a fucking terrible against the Lightsworn engine because they have, like, all the other card types. I am still waiting for them to get their Pyro type card, and then I think they have officially gotten every single card of the entire Yu-Gi-Oh series. Well, unless you count Divine Beast, which isn't very likely, but who knows. Anyway, I've already established how the whole graveyard thing doesn't really matter, considering most cards from the graveyard are meant to help you, not so much hurt your opponent. And this card only gets power from your opponent's graveyard, but as a hint, as a side thing to help it out, it also banishes cards of the same type that you destroy, except the card just destroy, which is a little picky, but whatever. So I guess if you're going against like a warrior structure deck, which who the fuck is playing that in 2018? But I guess if you're playing that random rogue player who just really likes the warrior triumph structure deck, who am I to judge? I play Battling Boxers, for God's sake. You know, this thing could be a fucking deck destroyer. So yeah. All you consider Eater of Corpses, I'd say you run one of it personally. Maybe two. Depends on your preference, honestly. Honestly, I'd say if you're going to run it at all, you run it at one. But that's just me. I have my own way of doing things. The wrong way. Next card. Eater of Oceans is a sea monster. I had to pick this thing. I know it's not actually like swallowing the ocean, but yeah, you're going to see a lot of the whole, it's an eater of blank, but it's not actually eating blank. I kind of had to make some hindrances here, considering it's not actually, I can't just go onto Google Images and actually look up Eater of Blank. Gotta give me a pass here. Eater of Oceans is a water attribute level 1 fiend effect monster with question mark attack and question mark defense. They all have question mark defense so far. I'm really good at this. See how rusty I am? Anyway. Cannot be normal summoner set. Must be special summoned from your hand by banishing the top 4 cards of your deck face down. Oh my god, Eater of Oceans is such a neg 4, guys. Oh, don't run it. You're negging 4. Gains 1 attack and defense for each of your banished cards face down, which means when this thing gets on the field, you're at least having 400 attack and defense on this thing. Cannot be attributed or used for fusion, synchro, or xyz material, of course. Once per turn, during either player's turn, you can banish a spell or trap card on the field face down. Then if you do, banish your card. Then if you do banish your card, banish the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck face down. Oh, I see what this means. It's like what this means, like, you could MST your opponent's card, but if you MST your own card, you then get to banish the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck. Granted, that's not helping this card out, considering it's getting power off of your cards in the banish zone, but it just banished one of your cards, so it is getting power, but not as much power. Cannot be destroyed by monsters. Cannot be destroyed by battle with monsters that have no level. So this thing is just ultimately just there to kill Xyz and Lynx, because they're the only card types that don't have levels. And yeah, you can say Pendulum, but they don't use scales when they're on the freaking monster, when they're in monster form. So technically that doesn't count. So yeah, Eater of Oceans is a very picky one here. It's a neg 4, you guys, but it's at least guaranteed 400 attack points on the field, which means you're not, in terms of card economy, you're not negging. Well, you're negging 1 to summon the damn thing, but all cards have you neg 1 at least to summon themselves, so yeah. Eat that. It's an MST, or you can just make your opponent banish 2 cards to help some of your other Eater of cards out. And it cannot be destroyed by something which you may think is useless, but actually Cracking Dragon has proven to me that sometimes just not being able to be destroyed by monsters with lower levels or don't have levels is actually very useful. So yeah, I'd say you run Eater of Oceans as a 2 to 3 of only just because of the fact it's an easy special summon. So yeah, but that's completely in my opinion. Eater of Oceans, good card. We gotta move on to the next one. Next card is Eater of 100 Ghosts. I had to take this one. I was almost gonna pick another one, but then I saw this one in the corner of my eye, just like, mine! Eater of 100 Ghosts. Dark attribute, level 1 fiend effect monster. Question mark attack, question mark defense. This card's effect is cannot be normal summoner spec. Set must be special summoned from your hand by banishing one card in your opponent's GY face down. Wait, you just get like. Wait a minute. Wait. What? So wait a minute. To summon this thing, you get to look in your opponent's graveyard and selectively choose which card they're banishing face down. Motherfucker. Hello, Fairy Tale Snow. Goodbye, Fairy Tale Snow. Fuck yeah. Of course, I can chain it, but you know. When this card is special summon, you can add a Eater of monster from your deck to your hand, except Eater of 100 Ghosts. So this thing not only banishes your opponent's graveyard, but it also searches your deck. Motherfucker. Cannot be attributed or fusion, synchro, exceeds, you know that drill. Gains 50 attack and defense for both players face down banished cards. So this thing gets less power, but has more versatility in terms of the banished pile. So yeah, make of that what you will. Once per turn, and during either player's turn, you can banish one monster on the field face down. Then, if it was one of your monsters, look at your face down banished cards. Add one of them to your hand. Then inflict 500 damage to your opponent. Okay, motherfucker. This thing is an instant 3 of. Why? I don't even think I need to explain in why. But I'm going to anyway, because I got nothing else to do. Ooh. You get to selectively... 1. You get to selectively choose which card in your opponent's graveyard is banished. 2. This thing searches your entire freaking deck except itself, which isn't much of a cost. It's 3. While this thing doesn't have as much power as the other Eater of cards, which only gains 50, it has more versatility. It's not Eater of Millions level of power, but it doesn't need to be. 4. You can banish either one of your opponent's monsters, or you can banish your own monster, and if you do that, you get to look through your own banished pile, which is probably big during late game. And you get to selectively choose which one you want to add to your hand. And yeah, you do a minuscule burn damage, which is irrelevant ultimately considering, oh boy, Hinotama. You could really take that part out and it would mean absolutely nothing. But it's clearly extra here. Just an extra little something. On top of something that already has 4 pluses, it clearly needs a 5th. Run this thing at 4 if you can. Yes, let's play Magic the Gathering and run it at 4. I don't even need to explain. You could say this is a bad early game if you're going first, and your opponent has something in their graveyard, and they don't, like, say, drop a freaking, like, I don't know, Ghost over any of that shit, like a hand trap. But, really, if you just have to wait one fucking turn. You can't wait one fucking turn just to get all of your shit. Eater of 100 Ghosts, run at 3. I don't even need to explain further why. Next card. Eater of Volcanoes. You'll never guess what kind of card this is! That's right, Fire Attribute, level 1 Fiend Effect Monster with 1800 attack and 1800 defense. Yes, this card has, for an Eater of card, has actual attack points that are definite. No, this is not the only one to have definite attack points. There is one other card, I believe. Yeah, I think there's only one other. Of course, let's go over what it actually does. Cannot be normal summoned or set, must be special summoned from your hand by having 5 or more face-down banished cards. So late game, this thing's a dream. Early game, it's a brick. It's like Pot of Avarice before everything just went to the graveyard anyway. Early game, it's terrible because you got nothing in your graveyard and you gotta wait to activate it. Late game, it's amazing considering you just get all your shit back. And then draw 2. Cannot be attributed or used for a fusion, sync, or exceed summon. Cannot be targeted by card effects. Not bad. When this card leaves the field, banish it face down, then inflict 1000 damage to your opponent. This thing's kind of lame. It's just like, it doesn't do it. Okay, what happened? Did Eater of 100 Ghosts decide I don't have enough pushes and we need to take them all from Eater of Volcanoes? I'm not saying it's something new to have the Volcano card be a burn card. That's just been in Yu-Gi-Oh! For the longest time. Oh boy, it's a Fire Attribute card. You know what that means. Burn. No duh. But, I don't know, it just feels so lacking. This thing's essentially, I would run Fire Trooper before this thing, just because Fire Trooper, I don't know. Look, I see the potential in Eater of Volcanoes for a late game scenario of just like, look, he just spent the last of his life and you just want to burn out the rest of it, who cares? But it just feels like, I don't know. It is an easy summon though, considering all I have to do is have 5 banished cards face down, in which case, that's not fucking hard in this deck. So yeah, Eater of Volcanoes, I say you run at 1, but if you really need those special summons, you can run at 3. Odds are you're not using the second effect anyway. Like most Yu-Gi-Oh cards, it has a second effect. I always use the first one. It's like finding out Gore's actually has the whole inflicting effect damage effect. You have that? Ah, well. Eater of Volcanoes, underwhelming, but who knows? It could have been worse, you know? It could have just been Fire Trooper. Eater of Boxes, I had to pick Pac-Man. Who the fuck else would there be to be Eater of Boxes? Earth Attribute, level 1 Fiend Effect Monster. Or with 100 attack and 2000 defense. Yes, the other card I was talking about when I was talking about Volcanoes. Fun fact about this card, another trap card. Or later on. When I first was going to do this archetype, these two cards weren't in it, considering I actually lost the two cards. Well, actually, I didn't lose one of the cards later on, but the card we're doing now, I did lose. So, thank you, Sean Largest, for telling me this. Considering that would have been another case of the Grim archetype. That would have been bad. Can I be normal summoner set? It must be special summoned from your hand by banishing a monster on your side of the field, face down. Oh boy, what the heck? Well, I guess if your opponent had like Phantom Knight's Fogblade discard, that would be okay. But it just, I guess we were just done with an Eater of cards that really wasn't helping you anyway. So yeah, cannot be attributed or used as blah, 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 blah. You know the drill. Level 1 monsters you control cannot be destroyed by battle. Once per... Well, that's actually from pretty decent protection, all things considered, considering... Well... Eater of cards can be defeated. Then again, Eater of cards usually have the built-in banishing effect, but so far out of all of them, all that have that is Greed and, of course, Millions. And after that, once per turn during either player's turn, you can banish a card from your GY face down. Then target one monster on the field. Change that monster to face down defense position. Eater of Boxes seems a little slow. I mean, yeah, it has the protection of the other level ones, considering the other level ones usually suck, except for Greed and Millions, in which case they don't really need the protection. They are protection. But I guess it's for every other card we've had so far. Considering you're special in this thing is defensive mode, not like you can't run over it, but then again, it protects itself. It's not one of those whole other level 1 and lower monsters, like a Lady in Right sort of thing. I don't know. No, other than that, this thing does, however, banish a card from your graveyard face down, which is helpful considering the other Eater of cards. Sorry. And then it just changes your opponent's monster face down defense position. That's fine. I mean, it targets, but... And of course, like, sometimes that is just enough. Like, who knows? High attack points, build up with a bunch of equipped spells and shit like that. Just put that thing in defense. It doesn't mean shit. Who knows? You know. It's helpful sometimes. Sometimes. Eater Boxes, I'd say run at 1, but it's ultimately your choice in the matter. Yes, your choice on how many of the card that doesn't exist you should play. But now we have the last monster. Well, the last main deck monster, at least. As soon as I can click on this. There we go. Come on. Last main deck monster. Eater of Infinite Calamity. Because I had to pick fucking Galactus. There was no other card to pick than Galactus to me. And if you're wondering what the little speech bubble he has is saying, it says, I hunger. Yeah, it's right out of a comic book. Eater of Infinite Calamity. Ritual Effect Dark Attribute level 12. Fiend Ritual Effect Monster. With question mark attack and question mark defense. I know this isn't the boss monster, for the record. I'm not spoiling it. There's still one more extra deck monster, but that's going to be the last one, though. I consider this one to be the boss monster, but... Look, just shut up. Can only be special summoned with Feast of Calamity. That's the ritual spell. When this card's ritual is summoned, banish all other cards on the field, hand, and graveyard face down. Then this card gains 1,000 attack and defense for each one. Motherfucker, this is your first line of text, and you've already hit the ball out of the fucking park. Hello, late game. I'm just going to be holding on to you throughout the entire duel. Oh, what's that? The graveyard, hand, and field are full? Fuck you. Just get rid of all of that shit. This is Chaos Emperor Dragon on crack. Because Chaos Emperor Dragon has the whole, like, you pay 1,000 life points, you send both the hand and the field to the graveyard, you burn your opponent for 300 for each card sent. But here's the thing. At the same time, he doesn't touch the fucking graveyard. That is sacred territory to him. And this thing says, like, no, fuck that too. And I'm also going to get more power from that. So it's just like, geez Louise. Oh, the other effect is, your opponent cannot activate cards in response to this effect. Well, fuck you, Solemns. Cannot be triggered or used for a fusion, synchro, or Xyz summon. Jeez Louise, Okay, it's amazing how it's just freaking 3 lines of text. Well, 4 if you include the whole ritual summoning part. Alright, but it's 4 lines of text, but one of those lines is fucking disastrous. Well, the whole "it can't be negated" thing is also disastrous, considering fuck you, Solemn Brigade. But just, ay. Do I even need to explain why you run this thing? I don't know. Well, that again is a ritual monster. So 2, I want to say. Then again, ritual decks aren't bad nowadays. Just they're not as fast considering extra deck. But Eater of Infinite Calamities hits the ball out of the park. I don't even need to explain why. Let's just move on to the next card. Now that was the last of the main deck monsters. But now we gotta move on to the spells. Let's start with the ritual spell. Feast of Calamity. Let's try that again. Feast of Calamity. There, it was missing the little ritual icon. Activate it by looking at both players' face-down banish cards. Then shuffle monsters into the deck whose total level equal exactly 12. Then ritual summon Eater of Infinite Dark from your hand. Actually, it's Eater of Infinite Calamity. Oops. When Eater of Monster would be destroyed by or banished by battle or card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard and face down instead. Motherfucker! You're telling me that in the late game, when all is said and done, the Eater ofs have had their shit done. You do not only ritual summon this thing using your own Eater of cards, meaning you're using about 12 at least, and putting those things back in the graveyard, which will give Infinite Calamity more power when he's summoned at least 12 other cards, assuming you're doing only the Eater of cards. But you can also use your opponent's shit. Because remember, it's looking at both players face down. Meaning, odds are, it didn't say anything, it said you couldn't use your opponent's cards. So, motherfucker, you're using your opponent's cards to ritual summon your shit. Jeez Louise. And on top of that, Return of the fucking Dragon Lords. I mean, it doesn't really need that extra bit, but just the whole advantage is like, not only can you ritual summon using your opponent's monster, but in the off chance that they somehow manage a counterattack against any of this, and try to somehow take out Eater of Infinite Calamity, you just banish this thing and say, fuck you. Jeez Louise. With 2 cards, they have basically yes, we have fixed the ritual archetype. Well, not fixed. We made 2 new cards that don't even exist in the actual game. But I guess this is how you actually fix ritual summoning. Make them busted as fuck and worth going into. Ay. Do I even need to explain it? If you're running Infinite Calamity, you're running this, and probably more of this than Infinite Calamity, just so you don't brick into them, considering if you run the same number of ritual spells as you do ritual monsters, they better both be at fucking 3, because that's your only excuse. But yeah, Feast of Calamity, I don't need to explain. Next card is a field spell, Dimension of Gluttony. Look, I wanted to do this one with all the Eater of cards I had, just like eating the whole things, but I can't animate or draw for shit. I'm lucky to do stick figures, so just take what I can get off Google Images. Dimension of Gluttony. Yes, Dimension. Eater of monsters gain 200 attack and defense. That's a lame start, but let it continue. This card gains effect depending on the number of face-down banished cards. I'm getting serious Crystal Beast nostalgia. 5 or more. Once per turn, you can banish the top card of your deck face down. That's okay. 10 or more. Or what? Oh, it says Water Of, but I think that meant to be Eater of. Eater of monsters cannot be destroyed or banished by your opponent's card effects. Oh shit. They just got a whole shit ton of protection, didn't they? 15 or more. Each time your opponent special summons a monster, they must banish the top card of their deck face down. You want to go into this big... I'm sorry, were you overextending? No. Now without a punishment, mister. 20 or more. This card cannot be banished. I guess that would be protecting from your own infinite calamity, but honestly, that last one's just kind of mediocre. That one could have been in, like, maybe the 10 one or something like that and just replaced the two. I don't know. But, okay, this thing, Power Boost for Eater of Monsters, is just bad. But it's clearly not the point. It's just an add-on on top of everything else. Like, what if Ancient City Rainbow Ruins also gave the Crystal Beast a power bonus? It's like, do they really need that? No, but they're getting it anyway. Some of these things, it's weird, because some of these effects are really fucking ridiculous, and some of them are really freaking mediocre. Because the whole, once per turn you can banish your own card that's face down. Okay, that's to help your own Eater of cards. 10 or more. Eater of cards cannot be destroyed or banished by your opponent's card effects. That's good. 15 or more. Each time your opponent special summons a monster, they banish it face down. That's good. 20 or more. This card cannot be banished. That's mediocre. So, yeah. But, I guess... Let me see it here. This card gains effects depending on the number of face-down banished monsters. So really, I don't know how this is working, considering, as far as I can tell, it means you can use all 4 of the effects at once if you want to, which is fucking ridiculous, although it would probably chain itself. But maybe it depends. Maybe it only has one effect depending on how many numbers there are. Once it gets to that point, it just ditches the other ones. I don't know. Even Ancient City Rainbow Ruins, each one of its 5 effects aren't once per turn. So you can do each of the 5 effects, each in the same turn. So yeah. Dimension of Gluttony, it's your choice. I'd say run 2. But that's just me. Next card. Empty Stomach. No, I don't want to starve. Quick play spell card. Target a Eater of monster you control and double its current attack. And during the end of your opponent's turn, banish the target face down. This card is limited removal, but instead of destroying the card at your end phase of your turn, you're destroying the card at the end phase of your opponent's turn. Meaning if your opponent's ring into the Eater of card, and I guess if you need to get that last little burst into there, just be it's basically limited removal, but if you're using it on your turn, you get to wait an extra turn with that Eater of card. Honestly, I don't think this really gels with the archetype that much, just because Eater of cards really don't care about high attack points. They're more about just banishing shit in general and being a nuisance. Unless you want to count Infinite Calamity, in which case he says fuck you to all of that shit. But if you're using Empty Stomach on Eater of Calamity, you're doing overkill. I don't know how you activate it, considering he banished all your shit, but maybe you found a magic way. Jeez Louise. Empty Stomach, I'd say run one of it just because it has nothing to do with the archetype, but I guess it could be that little extra boost you need, just a lot individual, just to be like, we're done. But that's just me. Next card, Wasteful Feast. How do you waste a feast? Yes, I did. I had to put in the Simpsons Steamed Hams. Because there's literally no other better choice I could think of than steamed fucking hams. If you've not seen Simpsons Steamed Hams, go watch Simpsons Steamed Hams. It is one of the funniest things I have ever seen. We're making steamed clams. But now I'm quoting Simpsons. Anyway, Wasteful Feast. It's a normal spell card. Banish up to 3 cards in your hand and or field face down. Stop. You made me neg 4. Because you're including yourself and it's coding my field. And I know the hand advantage doesn't count towards the field advantage, but this thing is very situational from the fucking get-go. Although, granted, it is and or, so you could just banish 2 cards from your hand and 1 on the field, or 2 cards on the field, 1 in the hand, something like that. But still something like that. Anyway, after you do the whole neg 3, banish cards from your hand and field face down, then look at your face down banish cards and special summon Eater of monsters among them equal to the number banished by this effect, ignoring their summoning conditions. You cannot summon monsters banished by this card's effect with this effect. So basically what this means is you can't just cheap out an Infinite Calamity by sending it to the graveyard, or banishing it rather, and then bring it right back. So that's kind of a failsafe on that one. Okay, so let me get this straight. I just send 3 random Eater of cards that have basically used up their worth for me, or hell, I just don't want them on my field anymore. In return, I could summon 3 Infinite Calamities. And I know the Infinite Calamities would probably banish each other, but for fuck's sake, this is still fucking ridiculous. You're ignoring their summoning conditions. And I know that's because the whole Eater of card, or it's also have the whole, cannot be normal summoned or set, can only be special summoned through blank. But so does Infinite Calamity. And ignoring their summoning condition does include ignoring the whole, can only be ritual summoned through blank. It's called ignoring the summoning condition, not selectively choosing which summoning condition you choose to reject. But yeah, Wasteful Feast. Yes, you neg 3 with it, but guess what? You just got about 3 infinite calamities on the field for it. You run, I'd say 1, maybe 2 of this thing. Your choice, ultimately. I can't say 3 just because you are negging a bit much. Again, early hand, this is bad, but still. Just the fact that you could do all that is just ridiculous. Anyway. Next card. We go from the bottom to the top. All you can eat. Calamity Surprise! I know it's supposed to be Infinite Calamity in the corner. I would love to put him in the corner, but I can't. You can only activate... Hey, you can only activate this card while you control an Eater of monster. Very selective, but it's not like those things are hard to get out. If your deck has more cards in it than your opponent does, banish cards from the top of your deck face down until you have the same number of cards in the deck as your opponent's. You can only activate this card once per duel. This is Eater of That Grass Looks Greener. There's no denying it whatsoever. It's Eater of That Grass Looks Greener with waiting for an Eater of card to be on the field and making it a once per duel, probably just to make sure it avoids the ban list, in which case it'll probably go to the limited list. Just because it is that of limited. And yeah, it's a normal spell. Anyway, look, I don't even need to explain why you run this freaking thing. If you ran That Grass Looks Greener, you're running one of these, or at least one. So, yeah, I don't even need to explain that one. All you can eat Calamity Surprise. I would have loved it if you did, like, that sea looks blue or something like that. Just something that's a hilariously obvious knockoff. Anyway, the last spell card. Devourer's Sweet Revenge. I know he was going for vomit, but I'm not showing vomit in my videos. I didn't allow a literal shit. Why would I allow vomit? Continuous spell. Each time a card is sent from your opponent's deck to the graveyard, banish cards from the top of their deck, face down, equal to the number sent. Okay, you know how I was just mentioning That Grass Looks Greener earlier? This card is the thing to say, no, not only, okay, you just sent the top 20 cards in your deck to the graveyard, now it's top 40. Okay, yeah, grass is banned. Let's not even get around that. But if grass ever came back, this is the way you shut that thing down permanently. Because now, if they see that thing on the field, they ain't activating That Grass Looks Greener. So either way, you made sure they bricked one card, considering they're probably not going to activate that grass now. And if they do activate that, not only did you just give half your deck more power, you just made sure that they lost half their deck. So this is probably the only way you're going to win via deck out in 2018. But just, jeez Louise, and not to mention this thing just shuts down Light Sworns. Oh, hello, I like to send my entire deck to the graveyard. You will now send more than your entire deck to the graveyard, so much that you now owe your deck cards. Jeez Louise, I don't even need to explain this. It's situational as fuck, but if you can get that situation off, I think it's worth it. Look, if that grass ever comes back to even 1, I'd say it's an amazing side deck card. Until then, it's still an amazing side deck card, just in case you're going against Light Sworns. Yes, side deck the card that doesn't exist. What have I come to? Anyway, Devour Sweet Revenge. It's a one of, but it's a one of a kind. But now we have to finish the spells, which means next is the traps. And first we have the Devourer's Missing Snack. It's a lunchbox. What else were you expecting? Although I would love to have Galactus in the corner being like, why did I forget to pack a lunch? It's a continuous trap card. Once per turn, declare a card type, monster, spell, or trap. Then pick a random card from your opponent's face-down bandage zone. And if the pick card had the declared type, add it to your hand. If it was wrong, place the card at the bottom of your opponent's deck. Excuse you, what? This thing is a once per turn. You pick anything at random. Spell. Oh, look, Pot of Desires. It is now my card. And I get it. I call... Or you could just be like, I call Monster Reborn. Oh no, it's Pot of Desires. It goes to the bottom of your opponent's deck. So they're probably not drawing it. And yes, the Eater of Cards can banish it to the point where they could practically draw Pot of Desires. But that's Pot of Desires with an empty deck. And you have the whole shuffling mechanic and reshuffling to search and all that shit. But you really are going to see that Pot of Desires again? I don't think so. They're more likely to mill that Pod Desires again or any of that shit. I love how I keep using Pod Desires. You devour his missing snack. I don't even need to explain why you need to run at least 2 or 3 of this thing. Yeah, it's a trap card, but it's a trap card where, worst case scenario, your opponent is still negging. I mean, yeah, your Eater of cards are still losing power, but they're not losing that much power. It's not like they had high attack points to begin with. It's like they were... Let's face it, the Eater of cards are nicely known as beat sticks. They're late game beat sticks, but that's only because of what they can do. You know, when most Eater of cards are summoned, they aren't known for their high attack points. They're known as being nuisances. They're Baguskas, the terribly tired Tapir. Anyway, devours missing snack. Best case scenario, you +1. Worst case scenario, your opponent just sent a card to his deck, in which case that doesn't even have +1s in card economy, so fuck you. Anyway, now we have the last trap card. Yes, there's only 2. And this was the other card that I forgot that I had missed earlier. But fortunately, I only missed it and I didn't lose it, so at least that's something. Cracked Sweet Tooth. Counter Trap. When your opponent activates a spell / trap or monster effect, reveal a Eater of monster in your hand, which is very easy because those things can be bricks sometimes. Then negate it and banish that card face down, then banish the revealed card face down. So, okay, how this thing works is, oh look, I drew Eater of Volcanoes, why not? I got Eater of Volcanoes early game. My opponent has activated, I don't know, anything, Raigeki if they wanted to. Activate a monster effect, spell, or trap. I now reveal to them my Eater of Volcanoes. Their card's banished face down, and so is Eater of Volcanoes, because why what the fuck was I running that thing anyway? Because it's trash. It's a generic deck archetypes exclusive Solemn Judgment, Magic Jammer, all that shit. But that doesn't make it bad. I'd say run 1 or 2 of it. You know, it's an archetype exclusive counter trap. There's not much more to say. It's good, but not fantastic. But now that we've finished the trap card, we only have 1 card left to go. The extra deck. The Eater of Viruses. No, it's not a ritual. About that, again, just for those who don't know, Yu-Gi-Oh! Card Maker can't do Link Monsters. Also can't do Pendulums. So I just use Rituals as a stand-in. If I were to do Link Monsters, if I were to do Pendulum Monsters at one point, I assume I'd have to make them monsters, just because, well, I can't make them spells. They wouldn't have attack points then, or levels or any of that shit. But this is how I work around it. It says it's level 3. It's actually Link 3. The arrow pointers are working at top left, top right, and top middle, meaning all 3 are pointing at your opponent. And the picture I used was a bacteriophage, which is actually healthy for you. And the funny thing is, bacteriophage, it means Eater of Bacteria. Yeah, not Eater of Viruses, but below me. Anyway, enough about the fun history facts. As I was saying, Eater of Viruses is a Link 3 Fiend Link effect monster that takes 2 or more level 1 monsters to summon. No. Once per turn, during either player's turn, banish all monsters discard points to face down, meaning all cards your opponent controls, considering, again, it's all pointing at your opponent. And gain attack equal to the total attack of the banished monsters, meaning if they're hiding in face down defense position, that ain't saving your ass. Can be attributed or used for fusion, synchro, exceeds, or link summon. Again, this is why the other cards we didn't have the whole link summon clause. They're building to this fucker. And of course you can't use this thing for Link Summon. It's already a Link monster. Once per turn, you can decrease this card's attack by 2,000. Better pray to God you got a lot of high attack points and wasn't like 3 Claymen or something, although it would still be enough to bite me. Then look at your opponent and space down banish cards and special summon 1 monster among them to your side of the field. It doesn't ignore the summoning condition. It does not do that. If it did, well, I'd say that would be broken, but this entire archetype has shown me that we just looked at basic card economy of how power levels work and just said, yeah, throw that one in the trash. We're just going to do whatever the fuck we want. So yeah, the whole Eater of the 2,000 attack points, it's kind of just there. I mean, it's like, yeah, if you banish 3 high-level attack point monsters, it's just like, what's 2,000 attack points? Well, if you didn't, 2,000 attack points could be life or death, considering sometimes attack points do matter. But out of all your opponent's banished cards, you get to steal one, so odds are you just steal something with more than 2,000 attack points, so you still break something even. Not to mention when this thing's summoned, you're banishing your opponent's own shit, so you need to only have one monster that's giving you trouble. But that's gone, and you just got stronger because of it. So yeah, Eater of Viruses, I think Infinite Calamity is the boss monster in my humble opinion, but Viruses isn't a bad backup. Run 3 just because it's in the extra deck and you can't frickin' the extra deck. But all that said, the Eater of Archetype is a very interesting archetype, because Sean Largers wants to make sweet, sweet monkey love to the Eater of Archetype. I'm sorry for grossing out the children. Oh wait, no I'm not. But all that said, again, the Eater of Archetype, very good archetype. Again, if you have any of your own fantasy archetype, let me know in the comments below. All that said, this is the Great James signing off, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.